Okay, ready.
Okay, welcome to Nervous Rex, Danielle Wall, aka Snake Lady, aka Snake Whisperer, aka you've come to my house how many times now and gotten rattlesnakes? Two? Three?
Twice. Yeah,
Twice.
two.
Twice.
You had, but I got two.
So, oh, three times. Oh, maybe I think it was three times because you came here twice with me and Leah, and then you came here once with my folks. But anyway, it's irrelevant. I just want the world to meet you because I thought you're a badass, and I've been hearing about you out here in the desert where I live and you live for a while. And I heard about you before the snakes came out from hibernation, and I was given your phone number by some friends because they're like, "Oh, you're gonna need to call her where you live." And sure enough, they came out, and I called you, and you've been coming out. So real quick, just tell us kind of how you ended up in the desert and working with snakes.
I came out to the desert because my grandparents were out here, and I didn't really know them that well. So I moved out here, and I was actually studying entomology in college. And then I was nearing my end of college, and we dissected a rattlesnake in class. And after that, I was hooked. I just thought, wow, look at this creature. And then I shushed one off the road the next day, and I thought, why is everyone freaking out? This isn't that hard. So then, yeah, the next day I went out with a bucket and a stick and started doing calls.
So you taught yourself?
Completely self-taught.
Wow.
I have not one snake training, anything. No education. It's all self-taught. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, like I'm a city guy. This is all new to me to be in the desert amongst rattlesnakes. And, most people have I think a deep primal fear of snakes. I mean, ever since like, evolutionarily when we were monkeys, snakes were in the trees with us. They're such mythological creatures. They're so foreign. I'm sure like most people, they're slithery monsters, but already from the few times you've come out and how many times I've seen them, I would say my fear has probably gone down at like 50%. Like I first was really alarmed and everything. I would always be like, is that a snake? Is that a snake? That's a stick. That's not a snake. Oh, what's that? And now I've become adapted a little bit more. And because anytime me and my girlfriend would go for a jog, we're constantly just looking for snakes, and yeah, you just sort of go on high alert out here. It's a factor.
Definitely. I mean, every bite for the most part is accidental. A lot of rock climbers get bitten because they're reaching up and they just don't see where their hands are. And that happens a lot. Or, people just don't think about it when they come out here and they just get too close. But then there are the people that just go to try to pick them up like I do and don't know what they're doing. And so, but
Yeah.
definitely,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I always tell people, you're really in no danger from those snakes if you always see where your hands and feet go. Because they don't hunt you. So it's only when you spook them.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said they've even done tests, and even if you step on a snake, they most of the time will still not bite you. They will they don't want any problems with you. You really got to go out of your way to get bit by a snake, right?
Absolutely. People think that, you get too close and they'll bite you. And I mean, the percentage is far, far less than 50% even of when you even step on them that they don't want to bite you. They're like, oh, shit, I just got stepped on. And
Right.
a lot of times, yeah, they'll go to bite you. But then you also have the chance of it being a dry bite, which means it's not intending to eat you. My little cat's coming to say hello.
Hi, Katie.
But yeah, they just want to scare anything that's too big. They just want to scare it away. And that's why a lot of the striking is just a lot of show. And they don't intend to actually bite you because they don't want to get stuck on you either.
Right.
A lot of times I'll feed my snakes and every so often my rattlesnake will strike and they mean to let go like they naturally do. And, the fangs are just in there.
Right.
And so they don't get stuck on you either.
So let's put a couple of myths to that, because you debunked a couple of myths that I thought was true. Like, oh, baby snakes are more dangerous because they release all of their venom into you, and you said that's bullshit, right?
That is total bullshit. No rattlesnake has true 100% control of their venom glands. We don't have control over spit glands. They don't have control of the venom glands. They have some, but not what people think. And so even if the babies did release every drop of venom, their venom glands are the size of a pea. But that giant speckled rattlesnake you got, I mean, those venom glands are, you know, the diameter of a dime. And just by pure volume of venom, the baby has way less, that adult has way more.
Right.
And the more venom in the body means the worse reaction. So if you get bitten by a rattlesnake, the smaller, the better, for sure.
And okay, and the one that we got here, is that still the biggest one? Because I feel that my ego likes that.
Well, it's the biggest one of this year,
Yeah, I'll
but
take it.
it is number 3 of all time.
Wow. That
Yes,
was,
3 of all
I'll be honest, like when it was me versus the snake, because you weren't answering your phone, and my girlfriend went for a run, and I was just by myself, and it was just me and the snake. And it was honestly one of the craziest adrenaline rushes and dumps I've ever had in my life, and I've been boar hunting and stabbed a boar to death as it was snarling, and I've been spear fishing with sharks, and this was up there with it. It was like, so out of my comfort zone. And I had bought those grabbers, the prong, what do you call them? The snake grabber?
tongs.
Yeah. Oh, tongs. Yeah.
Tongs.
Yeah. Okay. The tongs. And I got the snake shin guards. What are they called?
They're essentially just gaiters.
Gators. Right. Gators. I got the gators, and I got the full kit because I knew the snakes were coming out of hibernation out here, which for listeners, snakes come out about half of the year, right? From like March to October-ish.
Yeah, absolutely. April to October.
Okay. So they're out half the year. So when I first moved out here and I bought my place, there was no snakes around, and then they came out, and where I live is very remote. I live off grid down a dirt road, and they're out here. Anyway, it was me and the snake, and I first tried to grab it by the middle of its body as it was going away, and it turned around and coiled up and was, fully rattling. And it was just like, oh shit. Like I got chills even thinking about it. And it was just really intense. And it was just me and the snake, and you weren't here to help me. And my girl wasn't, I was just by myself, and I was just facing off probably 5 feet away from it. And I'm like, is it going to lunge at me? Like what? And then finally it like turned around, and as it was leaving, it poked its head up, and I just got it by the neck. But the strength of it was like a human arm. It was like wrestling with a man's arm. It was really strong. And I put it in the bathtub, outdoor bathtub, and then I did everything right. Yeah. Does that sound like I did the right thing?
You nailed it, dude. You
Wow.
nailed it. Yeah, for sure. But now they're not gonna. They don't chase you. They're not gonna pursue you, and they always turn around and coil, and they'll strike, which sometimes brings them forward. But they will always try to get away from you. If we had cobras, I would not be saying that. I'd say run for your freaking life.
Really? Why?
But yeah, there are plenty of snakes on the planet that will chase a human. Absolutely.
Wow.
They're just bad motherfucking snakes. But rattlesnakes are like the pussies of venomous snakes, to be honest.
Really?
Like they are cowards. When it comes to like the venomous handling,
Uh-huh.
well, I'm at the bottom because rattlesnakes are they're very predictable. They're very easy to catch for the most part, and they're very docile once they calm down.
Right.
It's not the highest risk with venomous snakes.
Now, okay,
They're
so
very easy.
the one that we got here, you said the glands were the size of a dime. Would that one have been able to kill a human man?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Probably about 5 to 10.
Fuck.
Depending on the venom, and it all depends also on how your individual body reacts. So, you're not a small guy. You're over 6 feet. You have a lot of muscle, and I mean, if you were really fat, I know, right? Show them off. If you were super fat, you actually, you have more body mass. It'll affect you less.
Right.
If I got big like you did, I would have a lot less time. I'm 105 pounds. I'm 5 feet, and it would just go through the body faster. Everything just goes faster with a smaller creature with more venom. So,
okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and let's just say I did get bit by myself. What would the logical thing be to do for somebody who gets bit by themselves out, camping or hiking, and they don't have a cell phone, the phone don't work, and what do you do?
I mean, in those cases where you have no human communication, you're in a really bad position. And honestly, you should be carried if possible to the nearest closest place that you can get reception. I think people who do remote hiking should at least have some sort of panic button. They're not they're not cheap, but they're not expensive to get something that can alert emergency services for you, helicopter specifically, because that's really what will happen is you will be helicoptered out.
Yeah.
If you're not up to a hospital, things can go downhill very quickly after you get bitten, but at the same time, you might have hours. It all depends on how much venom, where you're bitten, and how you react.
So you need to
But
be calm. You need to stay calm.
yeah, I mean, the faster your heart goes, the faster your blood's pumping, and most people die of cardiac arrest when it comes to rattlesnakes. They have a heart attack and they go into shock. A lot of things will kill the animal or the human before the actual venom. So it is, it's hard to stay calm, obviously, but yeah, you want to lay down, stay calm, elevate whatever kind of thing you got. It can't hurt to put it against your chest, that kind of thing. But definitely don't try to suck it out. There are no real ways to treat yourself in that moment. Everything is a myth. Everything is a hoax. There's no rattlesnake bite kit. Don't tourniquet it. Oh goodness, do not tourniquet.
Okay.
Just leave. Don't even touch it.
So also you're saying don't do the cowboy trick where you suck out the poison. That's bullshit too, huh?
It'll do nothing, and you're just going to irritate the bite area more with your saliva.
So I wouldn't even be smart for me to drive myself. Like what if my only option was to drive myself 10 minutes to, into town to get help? Would I have to do? I mean, I don't know. I try to like fast forward the tape if I was out here by myself, which I am sometimes, what I could do to just as a preventative measure or, just to plan something. I would have to drive myself if, sometimes the internet goes out here. I have no phone. You know what I mean? Ambulance to come, as where I live, it would be tricky for an ambulance to get way down here. Would I be able to drive myself even a few minutes to get help, or how quick does the poison get you?
I mean, in your case where you live, I think it would be worth investing in something like an emergency service button. You can get them for less than $1,000. And because if you get in your car, you can break down halfway there and you just ruined your chances of actually getting to the hospital until someone drives past you. And then because you can just faint, you can pass out. It can be 1 minute, it can be an hour, you don't know.
Right.
And that's a lot of fear-based thing with the bites too, because you have no idea what's about to happen and how bad it's going to be. So
yeah,
but
how many people since you've been doing this out here, how many people have you heard of getting bit, and what's like the normal thing that happens when someone does? Do they usually get help, or how often does I haven't heard too many stories of people dying out here. I know the Mojave green is the one that's more lethal, and that's not in this exact area. So have you heard any terrible stories?
I know the man that runs the 29 Palms Farmers Market. You probably haven't gone to that one, but he was bitten by a Mojave green about 25-30 years ago. And he said to him, it feels like half of his body's just a little different, and because the nerves die, and a lot of nerves don't grow back, so there's a lot of pain, lifelong pain associated with that. But even being bitten by that rattlesnake, he was able to get to the hospital in an appropriate amount of time. And the antivenom isn't something that just makes you feel better. If anything, it's kind of like chemo that honestly it'll make you feel a little shittier too. And some people have bad reactions to the antivenom even, but he did sustain lifelong damage. But he's healthy and relatively fine based off of that experience. But not many people die from these animals anymore. Most people, if they are remote hikers or remote livers like you, they have some sort of emergency connection to the outside world. And then other ones, it's people in town or neighborhoods with cell service.
Right.
And out here in California, right down in Loma Linda, about an hour and a half away, we have some of the best people in America when it comes to rattlesnakes. So especially in this area, it's some good shit.
Yeah. So you help with the antivenoms, didn't you tell me that you actually help with like somehow taking the venom from the snakes? And how does that work? Again, I don't know anything. So how does taking the venom from a snake, do you get the antivenom from that? I don't understand how that works.
It's kind of like making like the flu shot. You manipulate it to work against it. So you need the rattlesnake venom to manipulate all the chemical properties. I won't even get into that because I don't know it very well. And it, in turn, it's like they turn it reverse against itself. But I do. There's one man in particular. I can't name him, but wonderful man, decades of experience, and he comes and milks a lot of the rattlesnakes I personally own, and then he milks a lot of the baby rattlesnakes. Because one thing I didn't touch base with that is baby rattlesnake venom is meant for lizards and insects, so the compounds of it are different.
Got it.
And sometimes it's like when someone's allergic to a bee. A bee's usually fine, but it'll be that one person that's allergic. And some people are allergic to baby rattlesnake venom. So that's another thing. But yeah, and it gets for research, education, all sorts of things. I don't charge for it. I just let them come do it. I am not in this to make money. It's more so stop killing these snakes and, use them for education, research, and medical uses. There's a lot of things that their venom can be used for that has nothing to do with bites. And,
Like
the top
what?
professionals that.
Like what?
They're able to use venom for other sorts of things too in the medical field that have nothing to do with rattlesnake bites.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm not in that medical field, but
Right.
it's used for a lot.
So have you been bitten before?
I have been bitten by so many snakes I can't count,
Really?
but not all non-venomous snakes.
Okay, got it.
Bitten by a rattlesnake. I've literally had a snake hanging from my top lip, and it was, totally harmless, but it's a pain in the ass. But no, I mean, with rattlesnakes, they're very predictable. So if you don't get cocky, and you're totally fine.
Is this true too? I don't know if this is true because again, you don't know what to believe and what not to believe. I remember reading or hearing that most bites that happen are on young men on their hand or shoulder because they're going to fuck with it because they're challenging the snake or just being young, dumb guys. Is that true?
I mean, I'm sure that counts for a large percentage of the non-accidental bites,
Right.
for sure. People trying to get too close for the photo, and their hands are in front of the camera. That kind of, it's usually people not using their brains, and the cliche of a young man being a little rambunctious or with the guys or wanting to be like, look at this venomous snake. Yeah,
Right.
I would believe, or I would call that plausible.
Okay. And you recently had a snake situation where you left your window or your car door open and the snake was in your car and it scared you?
Oh my goodness. I mean, like I told you, I only seem brave because they don't surprise me. And yeah, I got a call, and stupid me, I left my car door propped open against a rock wall. And 30 minutes of looking for the snake, couldn't find the snake. And yeah, I go to sit down, and my steering wheel was perfectly hiding 3/4 of the snake. And I go to reach for my keys, and my brain's like, that's a rattle. There, because the tail was inches from my keys, and I didn't even register it as a snake, but my body like threw itself out of my car. And the snake just chilled there on my dashboard on the little volume knob saying, let's pump up the jams.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's
yeah.
And also you told a story once about how there was a bunch of police officers that didn't want to get the snake out. I imagine you're constantly getting called in when even big tough, badass cops don't want to mess with the snake. They call you in, huh?
Sorry, I got a tickle.
It's okay. Yeah, get it. Oh, look at the snakes back there. See, even Snake, she went to go get water because she has a dehydrated throat because in the desert it's dehydrated. Okay, welcome back. So yeah, the cops were scared.
Oh yeah, dude, I've gotten called from the fire department, the sheriff department, fucking everyone calls me. Marines, I love when Marines call me. The wives always give them a lot of shit. It's really funny.
So tell me some crazy stories. Like, what are some funny or crazy stories that have happened out here with either cops or or maybe a crazy situation where a snake was really challenging to get? Like, do they get in people's houses a lot? I mean, what's some crazy shit you've seen?
The worst situations I've gotten are snakes stuck in materials, chicken wire or bird netting. excuse me.
It's okay.
They do, and they can't get back out. So the only way to get those snakes out is to hold them and cut them out. And it is definitely not a fun situation. I've done it 5 times now, and it is fucking terrifying. Because you have an injured snake. A lot of times they're big, and it's just a life or death situation for everyone involved. And I had a Mojave Green, the deadliest one we got, and it went in and out of that chicken wire probably 7, 8 times.
Wow.
I mean, this poor just lacerated all over because they start swelling, and it cuts deeper and deeper. And so it was 7 in the morning, hadn't had my coffee yet, but I go and I only had one helper. And, she was a little shaky, and I'm holding a very deadly hurt snake in my hands. And, granted, she's not a professional snake woman. She's terrified. So I had to then take the snake with me, bring it to someone else, my boyfriend. I brought it to him. And I said, hey, honey, I need some help. Didn't tell him what it was. But about 30 minutes later, we had it successfully cut out. But you even see my hands in the video. I'm shaking like a goddamn leaf. I mean, people think I have nerves of steel, but I slip up even 1 centimeter and I'm dead. And that's a very sobering thought when you're holding a snake. But even this morning, I held a deadly snake. So yeah. I'm getting a little used to it. But it's, I'm definitely still nervous when I do a lot of these calls. There was one in particular, it was underneath the chicken coop. And I use a hose to extract a lot of snakes because the water hits them and they come shooting back up. But usually it takes them a minute or 2 for the hole to fill up with water, and then they have to go. But so it's nighttime. I may be 6 inches from the hole with my face. Again, probably not the smartest thing. Might have been smoking weed earlier in the day, working a lot, all those things. And that rattlesnake comes shooting out of that hole faster than lightning. I mean, right by my face.
Fuck.
And in that moment, the snake has no intention of biting me. It's just like, oh shit, cold water. And they just book it. They're not biting the air as they're moving. But in terms of how close it was to my face, it was sobering for sure. I was wide awake and sober after that. So
yeah, I know that feeling. That's how I felt with a couple of times I've seen them here. It wakes you up, that's for sure. What about you said another good trick to do is to spray them with water to get them to not come back like that. What are some other tips if people listening like happen to live in an area where there's rattlesnakes so they don't have to kill them? What's another good way to either deter them if you can't catch them? You said spray them with hose water or something?
Yeah, keeping a hose around for that purpose, it keeps you a safe distance away from it. You don't want the snake to ever feel comfortable living around you, so you want to scare it. And dousing it with cold water, it feels the impact of the water, it feels the temperature of the water, and it goes, oh shit, and the thing will go taking off. And then it'll have in its head a little bit that it's like, well, that was a bad spot. Maybe I'll just keep going this way and look for food this way. But you never want them to feel comfortable, even if it means throwing small rocks at them, something that can't physically hurt them, but that will spook them to think they are about to get eaten. And you just don't want them to feel comfortable. Otherwise, they will take up shop in your porch and just stick around because they don't see you as a threat anymore. They lost your respect.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So what about like are you educated on like the evolution of snakes? Like what like I feel like if you were to look at the evolution of how single cell amoebas came out of the ocean eventually, like did snakes come out of the ocean and then eventually form limbs and those became like lizards? I mean, because I was looking at like obviously out here there's reptiles and all this stuff and they just don't have legs. Like what the fuck is a snake? Are they from the water originally? I just don't understand.
I mean, essentially everything came from the water at one point, but a lot of snakes will have a lot of vestigial structures in their bodies.
What does that word mean? What does decidual mean?
Vestigial mean like a remnants of a bone or something that is no longer in use. I'm trying to think of a good example, but like, I mean, sometimes rattlesnakes will still have a spot like where their hips used to be in their bone structure, yet they don't have legs, so those bones aren't needed. They're there, they're kind of useless, or they don't do anything. It's just a remnants of what they used to have that still remains in some sort of form. And that's why they have pits on the sides of their heads, where essentially ears were at one point. Again, this is what I've read, and all of that, but they don't hear like they feel the vibrations,
right.
but have the holes on the sides of their heads that are vestigial.
Right. Oh, that's a good word. Now, what about the snakes having two penises? And I'm talking about the men snakes.
The man snakes have two dicks.
Wow.
Aren't you all jealous all of a sudden? Everyone's like, whoa, whoa.
Tell me.
Rattlesnakes have two penises. I found that out this year. I didn't really think to Google how many penises do snakes have.
Right.
But I had two snakes in my car, and I go to release them, and I'm like, fuck, they're mating. And when they mate, they just take their tails and their little poop shoots, and they do this, and they go in. But then when I released them, because they were doing it for like 6 hours, I said, guys, I don't have time for this shit. And so the male let go of the female, and I just see these two huge purple things that look like weird little amoebas. They were the strangest looking things, and they were purple, fucking purple. And so I Google it. I'm like, what do snake genitalia look like? And turns out they do. They look like little crustacean things on like barrier reefs. They're so weird, and they're like barbed penises, so they hold on to the female. Yeah.
Now, do the females have two vaginas?
No.
Okay.
They just got one. Snakes have the same hole, essentially. It's called a cloaca, as birds. So it's one hole for pee, poop, and sex.
Oh.
One size fits all.
Wow.
Story about the snakes having sex. So I got pulled over on my way to go release those snakes, because I am who I am and I drive how I drive. But
yeah, you drive crazy.
I do. And the cop, he goes, "Oh, I love your license plate. Do you love reptiles?" Because it says reptile lover. And I go, "Yeah, I have some rattlesnakes in the car. Do you want to see?" And I distracted him so much with those two snakes that were having sex that by the end of it, he's just like, "Well, you have a nice day, ma'am. Drive a little safer."
Wow.
The only I've ever gotten out of, and it's because two snakes were fucking in my car, and I got to show the cop.
Wow, that is cool, man. What about out here? So what's the craziest like rescue job you've done? Like, what's the craziest scenario you've walked into? Because I imagine I see some characters out here. I go to Walmart and I see some characters that live out here. Have you just walked into some people's like situation and you're like, oh man, what the fuck is this deal? Like, what's some crazy shit you've seen?
Oh, there was one call in particular where I am 1000% sure that house was a ginormous meth house. I did make a police report after going there because it was that terrifying.
Wow.
People were nice, and I'm definitely not unprotected. We'll put it that way. When I go on my snake calls alone, I am not defenseless. But yeah, it was a bad situation. There were I could see the drugs, I could see children, I could see neglected animals, and yet at the same time, these people still called me to remove the snake. I mean, it was just like, I can't believe you called me here with all of this around. Clearly I'm going to say something. But I got the snake.
Wow.
So
you would think a tweaker would be able to get the snake. They could do anything. They have superpowers.
Like they were almost functioning tweakers. Like
yeah.
They looked.
Those are the scariest ones.
Until you go and see how they live, and then you're like, whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. That's one thing I noticed about the desert. There's another level of tweaker out here. Cause I mean, I've lived in San Francisco. I've lived in, Venice Beach, I've been around the tweakage, but there's something different in the desert. I guess this is maybe because where all the meth is made, but I've definitely have noticed the vibe of the tweakers here is on another level.
It totally is, because I grew up in the San Francisco area, and so definitely.
Oh,
Uh, my grandpa called me.
oh, that's sweet.
Oh, hold
So
on.
wait,
You're going.
let's talk about your
All right.
So your grandpa's who lives here. That's how you came here, right?
Yes, absolutely. My grandpa has been out here for a very long time. My great grandparents were also out here. They were, from Long Beach, Carson area, Arkansas originally.
Mm.
But yeah, they were out here, and he's just one badass dude. He is so badass, it's ridiculous. I mean, he did search and rescue for like 26 years, out in this desert, looking for lost kids, people. He became a deputy sheriff so he could help on the criminal search and rescue kind of cases with armed criminals. And he owns a lot of property out here. He helps a lot of people. He's just a nice, badass guy. And no one can beat him with a gun. I mean,
Wow.
his shot. Accurate.
Wow, that's cool. You know, it's interesting. I noticed the most badass dudes are always the nicest because they don't have to act like badasses, and always the ones that act like badasses are the biggest pussies. Because I got the same story. I was about to go shooting with a buddy of mine who's a Navy SEAL and a cop. He's been on the podcast. Sweetest guy in the world, and just an assassin, but the sweetest guy in the world. And the same goes with my jujitsu kind of MMA tough guy friends. They're all just big sweethearts because they don't got to act tough. So I imagine that's what your grandpa's like.
Oh my God, I know. I call him a badass. He goes, I'm a teddy bear.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's just a nice, sweet guy. Will help you, will give you advice. Oh, you would never know that he could, just shoot you dead in the face in 2 seconds. Like, he's so badass.
Yeah, so I've recently got into another thing outside of my comfort zone. I've recently got into guns, because you kind of need them out here, especially where I live. Ain't nobody coming to help me. So I've recently got a couple of guns that I've, been learning that as well. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm so outside of my comfort zone. I'm dealing with rattlesnakes and assault rifles. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this life out here? I love it though. I'm embracing it. But for someone from San Francisco, none of those things are a factor. You don't really, I knew people with guns, but it's just not part of the culture really in San Francisco,
Yeah, I came straight here from the Bay Area, not knowing anything about the desert. I had never seen a rattlesnake unless it was on TV. And the first year was like, can this city girl actually adjust to this? And it took maybe like 1.5 years, 2 years to get used to this. Because, there's a lot of gun lovers out here, a lot of Jesus lovers out here. Like, there's the extremes on everything out here. All of the extremes are out
that's
here.
what I noticed. It's real like, Trump Republican gun toting guys, and then crystal hippie new age yoga. It's pretty far on both ends,
It's for LA, it's super desert rat drug scene. We got everything out here, man. Everything.
I like it though. I like it. I'm embracing it. Like it's too, I don't know. There's just a vibe out here, and sort of where I live out here, everyone's just kind of got a chill thing. Like there's no fences. Everyone's kind of cool. Like I live in an area that's a little more out in the middle of nowhere, but everybody just has a cool vibe, and everyone's just kind of like, do your thing. Don't bother me. I won't bother you. I don't know. It's, people are sweet. It's small town. Everyone waves at you.
Oh.
I love that. People wave at you. If I'm pulled over on the side of the road, car pull up. Do you need any help? There's just good people out here.
Even just yesterday, I was coming out of the Panda Express drive-through. Right?
My favorite.
Ooh, so good, man. I live right next to it.
Yeah.
And so as I'm coming out, and there's a car coming, and I'm just sitting there waiting my turn, and the lady who's sitting there in the van, she just smiles and waits. I don't know her. She doesn't know me. And then as the car pulls forward, her back, she had 2 stickers on the back of her van. It said like peace and love and kindness. And I fucking loved it. I loved every moment. I was smiling. And there are a lot of those people out here. Like the community, the nice part of the community is just beautiful. And the art world and the support and hiring locals. It's beautiful. I mean, I was kind of an asshole when I lived in San Francisco because you kind of have to be. It's all for one out there, take care of yourself. Don't help people. And It's crazy, it's hectic, it's stressful. And out here, you can kind of just be a better human all around if
I,
you choose to.
I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what it is. You just adapt to your environment. And I wasn't planning on being here full time, but I moved here right before all the crazy pandemic stuff happened and all this crazy shit. So I've just been staying out here and I've just been like fully embracing it. And it does change you. It's a trip, but I dig it. It's very, you're right. Like living in the city, you kind of have to just be a dick to survive, you know, and out here,
Yeah,
people know each other and you can't get away with that as much. There's something nice about small town vibes. But
so true. Fucks you over out here, everyone knows about
yeah.
it.
Well, I want to let people know where they could check out you doing your thing. So what's the Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram is HIGH_desert_Danny with a DANI. That's just, it's mostly modeling photos because I do a lot of lingerie modeling. Not so much since moving out to the desert, not being so close to LA or San Francisco, but so that's not really a big snake page. I'm trying to convert it, but you know, when a bunch of men follow you for lingerie photos and you switch it to you catching rattlesnakes, it's a lot of people are like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about because that's exactly right. Once, you know, you sort of create something people want to see, you switch it up, they get bummed on you. Like I usually do comedy. And then if I start posting other stuff, people are like, this isn't why I come to your page. I just come here to laugh. And then they're like, ah, fuck, well, whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, I think the snake stuff, I think you could get away with doing the lingerie and doing the snakes because most people will find that to be super interesting because not too many girls have that story. So that's what's so interesting about you. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, you're a badass. So I just wanted to have you on the show. And then is there anything else, Facebook, Twitter, do you have any other social media or how can people find you if they come out here to maybe have you save the snake?
Totally. If you just Google Danielle's reptile relocation, all my shit pops up.
Okay.
Everything. Yeah.
Cool.
And I do have that snake in the bin I was telling you about.
Can we see it? Yeah, get it. Yeah, let's grab
how docile
Come
it
look
is,
at
so
it.
then I can
Yeah,
can handle her.
So if you guys
So
listening want to, if you guys, if you guys listening want to see this, go to YouTube and just type in Nervous Rex and the word Danielle and Snake Whisperer or something, and you can see what we're about to see, which is, holy shit, let's see. Is that the one? Oh shit, that's a big one. Is that local?
Yeah.
Did you rescued that one recently? Oh shit. Holy shit. That's a fat one. Is that a girl?
No, it's a male.
Damn.
You just got to keep the head away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to try. I think one day I want to take, oh yeah, one last thing. You do a course where you teach dog safety and safety, how to handle them, don't you?
I don't do the actual dog training.
Okay.
But I will come to your house. I will train you with snake tongs. I will train you how to do everything. Especially for people that live how you do. It's just, you don't need me. I would rather train you not to need me than you have to watch it all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I only charge $40 an hour. I try to make this as affordable as humanly possible for people, just because I understand no one's going to pay $200 for a snake class.
Right.
And again, I that $200, it would be way more beneficial just to teach everyone to handle snakes and learn not to fear them. Yeah.
No, I think what you're doing is awesome. I wanted to share with you. Thanks for doing the show. And I'm sure I'll see you out here again because either way, I'm either going to have you rescue one or teach me because there's no shortage of snakes out here. I mean, this is part of the deal. I might find one today. So thank you so much for your time and keep being a badass. And thanks for doing the show. And I'll see you soon. And we'll get together and do the snake safety thing because I'll feel better about that. So I don't have to keep bothering you, you know?
Not a bother. You've been my favorite snake call. Get out of here.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Danny. Have a great day and keep being a badass.
Bye, Danny. Appreciate
All right.
it. Talk to you soon.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna hit